The crimson twilight gradually fades in the scintillating current of the Jhelum like a sheathed scimitar. The day ebbs, and the night in its wake brings floating starflowers in the dark water. Under the deep shadow of the mountains, rows of deodar trees loom on the bank. It seems as if the whole of creation wants to speak out in dreams, but failing to form distinct words, it moans in darkness with wordless sound. Suddenly, at that moment, the evening sky was pierced by a sound, a wave surging in the void towards the far horizon, like a flash of electricity. O flying falcons, intoxicated by the frolicking wind, your wings create joyful laughter and shake the sky with wonderment. That winged music, like a singing apsara, broke the meditative silence. The mountain range enveloped by darkness, the rows of deodar trees, all stirred as if by a touch of romance. I felt as if the message of the wings brought for a moment the desire for mobility in the minds of the unmovable. The mountain wanted to be the truant cloud of Baisakh. The trees desired for once freedom from the shackles of the earth, to elope with the winged music in search of the end of the sky. O mendicant wings, the finite dreams of this evening are broken. A wave of pathos overwhelms all. The heart of the universe rings with a vibrant note. Not here, not here, somewhere else.
That was an evocation of Kashmir by Rabindranath Tagore. It is said that when this foremost Indian poet visited the valley, he was so captivated by the visual splendor that he sought to paint it for perpetuity through a series of verses. These verses remain as fresh and vibrant as when they were first composed, weathering away the onslaughts of time by man and nature. The Flying Falcon was one of them. The series got to be called Mansi, or Of the Mind, and the images remain embedded in the mindscape of even those who have been unfortunate not to visit this paradise on earth. The evocation of Mughal Emperor Jahangir when he first stepped on its soil. If there is a heaven on earth, it is here. It is here. It is this. The evocation still rings true. Kashmir's unique beauty has been a constant source of inspiration for poets of successive generations, at home and abroad. At home, it seems to have seeped into the consciousness of poets, no matter in what language of the land they seek to express themselves. The range is fascinating, as indeed the landscape they seek to portray. These poems have now become unquestionable metaphors for the readers. What's unique about Kashmir's landscape is the variety, the range of the soothingly enchanting visual splendor, which was unfortunately sought to be devastated by some forces of disruption, making thousands of people homeless. But they failed to crush a resilient human spirit, an ethos, a common heritage. The story of devastation that began more than 5 decades ago, soon after the partition of the country, so provoked the doyen of Kashmiri literature, Dinanath Nadim, that he voiced an instant warning note with his immortal poem, I Will Not Sing Today, the warning poem.
I will not sing today. I will not sing of roses and of bulbuls, of irises and hyacinths. I will not sing those drunken and ravishing, dulcet and sleepy-eyed songs. No more such songs for me. I will not sing those songs today. Dust clouds of war have robbed the iris of her hue. The bulbul lies silenced by the thunderous roar of guns. Chains are all a-jingle in the haunts of hyacinths. A haze has blinded lightning's eyes. Hill and mountain lie crouched in fear, and black death holds all cloud tops in its embrace. I will not sing today, for the wily warmonger with loins girt lies in ambush for my land. I will not sing today. I will not sing of Nishat and of Shalimar, of poppy beds and waterfalls, soft and silk-smooth melodies of the green dew. I will not sing today. For the determined scorcher lies in hiding everywhere, waiting for a chance to blight whatever is in bloom. Roses hold their breath in fear. The poppy nurses her stain. The stream song, the koel's plaint have dried up in their hearts, and the wild myna is tongue-tied with fear. I will not sing of the yearning of first love and the blossoms of young spring. For the autumn wind, poison-fanged, is in hot pursuit of spring. The hot cry of fire is heard in every forest. Man has alas turned hunter of man. Behold the poor Narcissus with unkempt hair, the jasmine torn from the disconsolate vine, the wind prostrate. I will not sing today. I will not sing of the tiller in the rice fields, following his plough, sowing, weeding, transplanting, a song bathed in the sweat of toil, for the poison weeds have sapped earth's vitality. Locust swarms are swooping down on ripe corn. The sweat on every brow lies frozen with fear. The whirlpool is dancing the devil's dance. The grass has withered and is bleeding at the roots. I will not sing until hill and mountain, field and fallow, bud and blossom, red rice and white, the koel's song, spring and fall, gardens, woods, rivulets, streams, jasmines, roses, poppies, cataracts and Shalimar, with all the dower of spring, Zojila and Burzal, and the sky-kissing Nanga, Sheshnag and Vavajan, until all these I see again, freed from fear, siege and terror. And at the earliest break of dawn, fulfillment greets my hopes, until my darling motherland smiles like vernal bloom or innocence and enjoy.
But what's so enchanting and visually soothing about the valley? The ever-changing moods of the Dal Lake, the transparent waters of the Litter River, the life on the river Jhelum, the distant snow-covered Himalayan ranges, the tall deodar trees, the maple leaves, the man-made Mughal gardens, the naturally protected meadows. They all find expression through a series of poems that depict one variant landscape through different languages of creative communication. The most significant Urdu poet of post-independent India, Ali Sardar Jafri, sang of Kashmir thus.
This land of Kashmir, a fascinating picture of heaven, a poet's delight. On its earth grow rose plants, each branch laden with flowers, every flower is in bloom. The land produces gold, nature spreads silver covers. The breeze rising from the valley brings intimacy. The atmosphere produces the drink divine. Every inch of the land spells nature's bounty. Every stone is precious, but fate of man is cruel. Every heart scarred. The snow-capped mountains bask with nature's blessings. Pearls and roses lie scattered, but the sons and daughters of the land move around in tatters. Under the shadow wealth, people live like helpless beggars, brave in spirit, free by resolve, but prisoners of a conspiracy hatched by the wicked, the traitors of the land. The bright valley looks dimmed by the shadows of evil spirits. The roses wilt, pierced by arrows in this land of Kashmir. Beware, the blood of your martyrs is not bartered away. Your bounties are not robbed. The fruit-laden trees do not become bare. There is a change in the air. It smells differently in the gardens. A certain melodic refrain echoes in the atmosphere. When will the songs of happiness brighten the horizons? I have brought blessings from the Jamuna and the Ganges. All roads lead towards democracy. Every traveler in this caravan has the same destination, the same path. O land of Kashmir, a fascinating picture of heaven.
Kartar Singh Duggal is known essentially for his fiction and prose in Punjabi, another northern Indian language. But when he came out of his makeshift habitat overlooking the Nagin Lake in another part of Srinagar one morning, during a visit to the valley, when the guns were silent and the water still, he couldn't help giving vent to his feelings through verse and not prose. The brief poem In Kashmir has deep connotations and almost effortlessly presents a variety of images.
On this side, under a cluster of chinar trees, is this bachelor's camp, and in front is the bare body of Dal Lake. The lengthening evening shadows have eventually fortified themselves, and soon it will be night. In the distance, I see a stray shikara slip into the lake quietly. As I turn my gaze closer, I notice on the other side another shikara occupied by lovers slowly sail over Kashmir's tired chest in search of a deserted bank. And behind my camp, a woodpecker and its mate quietly slip into the womb of a tree, as if this bachelor did not see them.
The Indian poet in English belongs to no specific region, and that is perhaps why, compared with others, his outlook is both more universal and yet focused and concentric. Shiv K. Kumar seeks a multiplicity of images, latent and invisible, while looking at the famous Dal Lake. The only difference is the waterfront now appears more tranquil, because the artistically built houseboats wear a somewhat deserted look, and fewer colorful shikaras are noticed floating on the shimmering transparent waters. Dal Lake, Srinagar.
Is it some primeval crystal, multi-hued? Or is there locked, under its weeded archives, some chronicle of creation and doom? Did it witness the birth of our first man, fish and flora? And will it see the last sunset, when the kingfisher will dive below its waters, never to spring again? It's daybreak, the moment of embrace between rose and briar, dream and reality, faith and negation. Slowly rises the curtain on a sequence of mountains overlooking a lambent platter of virgin waters, as though this morning has just been midwifed out of the womb of time. The sunlight now caresses the camel caravan of hilltops, their necks drooping, their humps bobbing up and down like the cardiograph of some stout heart at peace with itself. Now breaks into this hushed moment the symphony of birds, still drunk on some dreams of luscious orchards. And as the chinars, stately like turbaned watchmen, wave to the dawn, their palm-shaped leaves swinging in the air, the mist rises, diffusing all over the landscape like incense. The patriarchal sun now splinters into 100 eyes, each prying through a shred of white cloud, like the clipped feather of some primordial swan. The glow deepens. The peacock blue waters hold up their mirrors to encore in inverted images the mountains, the clouds, the chinars, the birds, all shimmering in a vision, bifocal. Now perched on the steps of a ghat, just a heartbeat away from Hazratbal, I see islets of chestnut, of lotus, anchored tranquilly. And suddenly, out there, my eye seizes some dark object approaching. A prophet walking on the waters? A spectral skiff propelled by lunar force? No, it's a fisherwoman, rowing her little ark with a heart-shaped oar over the waters that lisp and gurgle and kiss as she hauls in her first catch of the day, fish, faith, and endurance. Now the rumblings of unrest as the morning lengthens into the day. The crows cawing, the ducks whack-whacking, the muezzins croon, and on the market square, the first taxi snorts into action. Time for the tourists, alien or native, to swoop down upon Dal like locusts scrambling for the shikaras. For isn't this lake a conjurer's crystal too?
Overlooking the Dal Lake, down the long circular boulevard, are situated the famous Mughal gardens, Nishat, Shalimar, Chashme-Shahi, Pari Mahal. Neither vagaries of time nor the persistent onslaught of misguided guns have succeeded in defiling the beauty of these man-made marvels, chiseled out of the otherwise God-created green turf, crowned by the mighty, pristine, snow-peaked Himalayan ranges. Gujarati poet Yashwant Trivedi reflects nostalgically at all those places in and around Srinagar that he obviously visited with his lady love. Whether he looks back longingly on those milk and honey moments staring at his beloved, or the bewitching beauty of the landscape in the poem Under the Icy Floor.
What happens when the sea turns into a glacier? I go about in a boat over the horns of the golden deer that swims in the sea. The drowned Srinagar city is floating on my palm. We used to coexist, I, Reshma, you and all. The jaws of the sharkfish are wide open. I go on fighting like an old Santiago. I remember that the Jhelum used to flow with the tails of my previous births, that the wind, having played the instrument of Tarannum on the orange tree, used to sleep in Ashikara. O Jhelum, the flower sparrows used to gather on your heavenly waters, while doves used to fly about. The silk of white doves' wings used to sleep over the numerous hill flowers. Gulmorian songs used to swim under that silk. We used to live in the saffron mirror of the spring, on the song Shikara, resembling the slim waist of Shakuntala, the dull lake opening in the eyes of Reshma, the heavenly skies opening in the lake in the morning. But I do not remember. What could be the desire of Reshma, as tall as the Shalimar, have been lengthened? When could she have plucked the fruit? Ever since I come eternally cursed, a penguin flying away from the sea. Wings spread over and above the white sails of my raft and settled. Of course, I'm wide awake, and the water continues to be water. On these very waters, nay, on other waters, Srinagar used to float. The moonlight caskets containing love letters written in previous births, floating on the water. The perfumed Noor Jahans carried away in sleep from the bosom of Jahangir were floating over the water. We used to exist on that water, I, you, Reshma and all of us. I've preserved that Srinagar in the depths of my raft. What happens if the sea freezes when I've entered into the depths of that boat? When my eyes close, my raft will have been stuck in that polar glacier, or I might melt in a heap of salt. But what will happen to that penguin flying above when my eye fishes covered under the transparent ice floor start moving? What happens when the seas get frozen?
Chinar, or the maple leaf, is an inseparable part of the Wales landscape and only found selectively elsewhere in the Himalayan greens, or for that matter, in any other part of the world. The withering away once imposing presence in the middle of the Dal Lake cluster of 4 trees, lovingly called Char Chinar, with boats encircling around it captivating the tourist, changes its hues and colors with the coming and going of seasons. A whole garden of the chinar trees lovingly got planted by Mughal Prince Dara Shikoh on the road between Srinagar and the breathtakingly picturesque Pahalgam, is a nature's lover haunting delight during autumn. Keki Daruwala, a foremost Indian poet in English, records the falling of the rust-dry maple leaves.
The chinar confronts the sunset with its own dusk. You can hear the drip of crinkled leaf. Isn't this what they call dry rain? This slow, twisting dead moth descent from the sapless branch? In the eye of the lake and the running eye of Jhelum, it holds you This bonfire death that slowly drips fire, these smouldering rusts without the clank of metal. A wind alights on the tree, and the eye cannot follow. Each bronze scale severed from the mail of the dying giant, each clenched child fist of a leaf, the largesse of it, the aching drift of it, the flame and the fall of it.
The heavenly quiet of the valley began to shake somewhat in the end years of the 20th century, and this started to affect the people of Kashmir like nothing before. The unique bond of camaraderie, popularly called Kashmiriyat, somehow got breached. This phase of militancy was initially directed at the minorities, though gradually even the dominant population of the valley began to feel its bitter taste. Dogri poet Padma Sajdev is renowned for her sensitive evocation of reality in a most lyrical manner. In her long poem, My Kashmir, she fondly, though unhappily, takes a look at the valley that has been an inseparable part of her consciousness from her very childhood.
Lend me your wings, O many-hued bird. I will take a trip to Kashmir. Fly over the Pir Panchal range, the pine trees, dressing them up with soothing bandages. Take a look at the eroding Jhelum banks and threads floating in the winds. The buds must have blossomed, snows must have rained, yellow flowers layered with frost, green grass firmly placed in soil. Who lives? Who died? What's the news? What do the graves tell? My Kashmir has turned into crematorium. Houses have been burnt down. Fear has gripped the valley. Don't the mountains now bend and sit huddled together? Does the dull lake not talk, the Lidar river descend from heavens? Pir Panchal range resembles a statue. Kashmir has become a news headline. Trees have been burnt down. People are confused. The winds sway listlessly. Where is the chinar cluster? The old must be sitting bewildered, the faces crestfallen, the vacant shikaras floating aimlessly. Let me pray for the happiness of those whose grief I want to share. Spring waters of Chashme-Shahi, don't any more inquire about your thirst. Don't ask, when did you come? What can you do? How long will you bear the agony? This is not your Kashmir. This is not where you belong. Let me fly over Hari Parbat, hold a fistful of dull lake water, wash away tears of terrorism and cry to my heart's content. Hover around Shankaracharya temple and survey the scene below. Houseboats float over the lake waters. Visiting the shrine of the 6th Sikh Guru, I bow reverentially at the Hazrat Bal, pleading relentlessly for the people of the valley. Vacant eyes, deserted habitats, burnt down colonies, head bent in sorrow and shame. Where should I pray? Who will listen to my voice? Where are the sounds of love? Those thrills of camaraderie? I seek the whereabouts of the Messiah who will restore the glory of my motherland.
Militancy has played havoc with this remarkable spirit of brotherhood. The poet does not understand the language of politics. He only understands the language of love, a language that unites rather than separates people. That was the language that the saint poets of yore left behind for ordinary mortals to sing and emulate. And it seems it is the memory of those thoughts that compelled Malayalam poet K. Sachidanandan to remind the people of the utterings of Lal Ded, the 14th century woman saint poet of Kashmir. Lal Ded speaks against borders.
Last night, I saw a chinar tree, its leaves and boughs a-tremble, bleeding from its roots, scream and run. He was afraid to look back. The dull lake where the sky had drowned was a river of fire that scattered sparks. A terrible beast with an alligator's body and 1,000 dragon faces, its eyes sending forth lightning and dead babies dangling from its 10,000 claws, emerged from the lake. Wherever the venom from its forked tongue fell, brothers began to fight one another, and the sandalwood and saffron withered in the wink of an eye. The sun got extinguished, and the women went astray in the dust storm its breath aroused. The shikaras that were filled with lotuses now carried the unclaimed dead. It rained bones. Shiva danced in the lifeless snow, piled on the ruins. The voice of his drum woke me up. O saints of the valley, when did our words ooze away from our hearts like water from unbaked pitchers? Springs and stars will not talk to those who believe in borders. I don't believe in borders. Do the grains of sand know the land where they lie? The roots of apple trees reach for one another under the walls built by man. Wind, water, and roots work against walls. Birds snap borderlines with their sharp wings. The lines on the map do not stop even a dry leaf. Let us be rivers. I see darkness at noon. We sip wine sitting on volcanoes, dance on the edge of graves. Perching under the moon that glistens like Nandi's eyes, the nightingale told me that blood knows no borders. It is one's own blood that continues to run in another. When the two touch each other in love, then blood becomes one. And if touched with hate, it flows out, screaming. The soul has no race or religion. Nature suckles everything. The sky is the throat of the Nilkant. I am a lake of measureless blue. Shiva, my shore of endless green. No fences of iron, no, not even hedges. Let rains and deer graze on both sides. Oh, those who try to milk the wooden cow, arms are meant to hug. She who has conquered greed needs no sword. She who has conquered lust, no veil. Farewell to the vain mornings where blood stench blooms. Farewell to the rains of history that taste of gunpowder. Come back, vineyards. Come back, my lambs, sparrows, lotus ponds. The infinite calls from within the sand grain.
It is amazing how poets use different metaphors to express their feelings of dismay and unhappiness at the turn of events around them. They range from the delicate and soft soul-stirring to the stark, hard, stony, and hard-hitting. But then that is the beauty of poetry, and it is the expression of the same events and situations in different styles that distinguishes one poet from another. Odia poet Sitakant Mahapatra is renowned for the delicacy of his imagery in invoking even the most disturbingly violent situation. And he is no different when he reflects on the needless killings in Kashmir that began to affect even the majority Muslim community not long after the advent of militancy in Kashmir. The Dal Lake winter can even disturb frozen blood.
A ghost of a boat with a thin, shadowy figure resembling a god at the oars, and two wiry kids as cut flowers, vanishes into the fog noiselessly. The snow-capped peak quietly sleeps below the freezing waters, in peace it has known for aeons. Is there an invisible bank where death receives flower gifts? Her two sons melted into the dark, like pure snow melting into mud and slush. Her narrowed eyes have no tears, only a darkened, blind look that threatens to tear open all temples and mosques and challenge the gods who forever hide behind clouds. She stares as the rising sun's blood smears the deaf and dumb hill of snow.
As if not to be left behind Sachidanandan and Mahapatra, Kannada poet H.S. Shiva Prakash looks at the unfortunate events in Kashmir floating in the distant skies in pursuit of words and expressions to depict the changing landscape aptly called Valley of the Gods and made home by poets, philosophers, saints and scholars. Kashmir has been depicted in the ancient Indian Hindu texts as an abode of learning, and even in the later day, after the arrival of Islam in the 15th century, the scene of love and brotherhood remained unchanged, a change that misguided forces sought to bring in the last 14 years. Pulsations by Shiva Prakash depicts the mood and the concern spread by the cover of unending darkness.
Sometimes like an eagle, sometimes like a sparrow, you, O poem. Like a shadow, I have followed you, no matter where you perched or where you hovered. I shrank every time you sprang up from the earth. I bulged up every time you descended. I have eaten the shadow fruit on the shadow tree every time you ate the real fruit from the real tree, till the army of darkness invaded the horizon on the west. Now only the silence of colossal rocks. Now only the stirring of dry leaves. For the desire to be born, for poetry to be born, there must be darkness. Yes, there must be darkness. Be extinguished, you electric lamps, you technologies, so that we can ignite again the forgotten heart lamps. There must be darkness for Bhairav, the naked light, to dance before us. There must be darkness for the valleys of Kashmir to pray like countless yogis in Abhinav's voice. Don't go away, O Kashmir. You have put up with the onslaught of Indra's thunder weapon for centuries, you snow-white peaks. Don't be shaken by the bomb blasts of mischievous children. You are flowing, limpid like the words of Lala Vak. You, streams of clear water, don't be thirsty for the blood of the innocent. You are paradises, come down on earth. You, flower girls of valleys, hide your charms deep within. You, containing all these, you, the last shoot of dreams, you, Kashmir, do not give up your truth. Listen, the first screams of the baby. Return, you valleys of Kashmir. Be reborn and flow on, you stilled streams. The woman that came was Laleshwari. The baby reborn was Hazrat Nuruddin Wali. When did the dawn break? Sometimes like an eagle, sometimes like a sparrow. You, O poem, flying again, and I, like a shadow, following you.
Misdirected militancy tried to play havoc with the lives of the people in the beautiful valley, leaving no particular community untouched. Whole families started to move to other parts of the country for safety. No aspect of life remained unaffected. Fear gripped the valley, rendering a whole generation of youth jobless. But even in the agony of resettlement and migration, those who fled the valley continued to look back nostalgically and even dream of going back to their abandoned homes someday. A representative poem of such feeling is echoed effectively in Shambhu Nath Bhatt Halim's Kashmiri poem, What Will You Find There?
What will you find in your place of birth now? The land where cool breeze soothes tempers, a fistful of water quenched thirst, shady trees comforted the travelers from rays of the scorching sun. Waterfalls sang songs divine, brooks meandered in unison, hawks guarded the doves' nests, lions and lambs frequented the same reservoirs, where winds swept through pine trees, the saffron fields devenomized snakes, love overpowered hatred, Sweet memories refreshed hearts. Religions preached coexistence. Preceptors and disciples stood the test of time. Both Lalded and Nundarishi were revered alike. Habba Khatun and Arnimal sang melodies refined. Harmony and brotherhood were unwritten parameters of life. You crave to return to the place of birth again. Your love-lorn soul cries in anguish, but the sky there is overcast with gloom. Heaven has turned into a hell. Dawn brings sorrow, dusk celebrates grief. Glowing faces have turned pale, as if happiness never blossomed. Cool breeze is a burning cauldron. Crystal clear waters turned red, mixed with human blood. Friends have turned foes. Owls have destroyed the doves' nests. Gunpowder mined everywhere. Even death frightened of extinction. Citizens are afraid of their own shadows. Faith a casualty. Bathing shores hideouts of dead bodies. Saffron fields now grow poisonous plants. Blackened rose wanders in search of smell. Jackals scream in mustard fields. Jhelum fails to hide the dead bodies. Human flesh, not water pearls, lie on lotus leaves. They shed tears of anguish. Morning breeze that once heralded hope, love, and faith now drops blood as it goes past the lake. Padlocks block access to homes and hearts as the night descends until the sun rises again, praying for darkness never to come again, so that the thundering guns are silent. Lilting music has fled the valley. Eyes have dried up mourning the innocence. All temples are deserted, worshippers hounded out. Wolves howl and prowl everywhere. Even frightened fear is on the run. Man has shed the human skin, thirsting for loved one's blood. Motherhood has been ripped apart from maternal bosoms, ruthlessly slain, till piety bursts out of their breasts. Pythons of hatred have devoured all. And yet, you pine to return to the place of your birth? Go, you must go. No one will stop you, but think before you move. What will you find there?
The cry of anguish that pervaded the valley was heard in every part of the country. It stirred the soul of every sensitive human being, near or far, giving legitimacy to the claim that Kashmir is and has been a part of every Indian's consciousness. Konkani poet R.S. Bhaskar from the backwaters of Kerala, while sympathizing with the plight of a friend, bemoans his helplessness in his inability to do anything in these lines from his poem, "Oh, my friend from Kashmir."
Into the heart of Kashmir, the sharpened tip of a sword has pierced, and in front of your forehead, the barrel of the gun is trained. Where do you feel happiness or peace of mind, oh my brother from Kashmir? Once you said, your beloved sister you have lost. She had gone to graze the sheep, but did not return till midnight. And in the valley of your heavenly land, you came upon her corpse, cold and numb and buried in the snow. Again one day I came to know about the assault on your home. In your absence, your mother had been snatched away by cold-blooded monsters. I also got to know how cleverly you escaped in the chilling pond nearby. You hid yourself for a long time, breathing through a lotus stalk with great uneasiness. I am aware of the adventure you tasted, managing to save your life. Now you have neither sister nor mother, nor have you any dreams. What you have now as your own is the blood-tainted moonlight, flowers of blood and fruits of blood. For you, the Deodar tree is sadly a tree of blood. The Dal Lake for you is virtually a lake of blood. For you, the Shivaliks are blood-smeared hillsides. Kashmir for you has become a valley of crimson human blood. And here I am, your pathetic brother, unable to come for your rescue.
Apart from being a favored tourist attraction for travelers from both home and abroad, Kashmir used to be a preferred destination for the newly married. Honeymooners thronged the valley, but this traffic came to a near halt when invading terrorists started finding them sitting ducks. Hindi poet Kusum Ansal spells out the plight of these lovers in her touching poem, Honeymoon.
So here we are in this beautiful valley, two excited souls lost in love, floating in a colorful boat like other honeymooners. Touch me, hold me in your warm embrace, like the lake wraps the trembling raindrops into its eager arms. Touch me like the fingers of an eclipsing day enfolds soft silken dreams in the swiftly turning in darkness. Touch me like the thin fragment of a cloud covers the moon's face, lost in its divine folds, with a soft, craving kiss. Merge in me, my love, so that the warmth of your body matches my aroused passions, so that nothing exists between you and me and you. Where are you, my love? Far away from my finger touch, from the warmth of my body, from the softness of the bedspread. Behind my closed eyelids I see only visions of guns peeping out of bushes and trees instead of a charming actress's face. Let your face be within my palms. Switch off the television. Black out replays of the ensuing war. These terrorized faces, truckloads of the dead bodies, crying mothers, mutilated victims. Send them off. Silence them so that we could be together in the nuptial beds. Forget the outside reality. Forget the agonized outcries. Just touch me. Take me into your being. Merge into my soul. Let our bodies be one. You in me in you. But what's this smoke that has crept into our bedroom? Oh, don't. Please don't touch me, love. This physical bliss feels shameful. Instead of the cool of the waterfalls, I see rising flames all around. Every renewed terrorist attack separates lovers, makes more widows. This reality negates the engulfing passions of our physical bliss. Every lane, every nook and corner of the beautiful valley burns with the sounds of overpowering bomb attacks. Humanity cries, sheds tears, bemoans every death, every loss of faith. No, please don't touch me, my love. Let this thirst be unquenched. I cannot remain immune to the unfulfilled desires of married women, thirst of the widowed who patrol the deserted lanes and bylanes of the valley. I cannot bear this pain, this agony. So don't touch me, my love.
Although Indian English poet Agha Shahid Ali lived much of his adult years in other parts of the country, and even the distant America, he could not remain aloof from the sounds and the smells of his birthplace. He returned to Kashmir as often as he could. He bemoaned the fact that the exemplary camaraderie that existed between the Hindus and Muslims in his beloved Kashmir had to break under the shadow of guns. This resulted in a series of touching and somewhat haunting poems. Autumn in Srinagar was one of the last poems before his premature death some years ago.
In our hands we gather the remains of shadows, and the sun dies. In your stone eyes I see the day burn to ash, O strangled sun, in the sky's funeral pyre. In the rising smoke of burning incense, the mute corpse, the natural silence of defeated words in the house of the dead, waiting for death. Here, in this mosaic of graves, I design my tomb and beat a prayer on the stone, my hands carving the stillness of dead leaves. A late prayer. The tombs shiver in this autumn, crumpling under the moon. If we had shared the dust, there would be no misgiving. A last image. I see your form coming for me in this season, not yours. A lamp burns the wood here in a dusty room in this terrible darkness. I hear bangles break the measured rhythm of biting air. Take me far from here, of my own accord, of my own understanding. I have gathered the leaves for winter.
Normal life in the valley has been so disrupted, it even prevented people from exercising their religious pursuit peacefully and without the fear of guns hidden in the bushes all the way to the places of worship, especially in the far-flung areas of Kashmir. Renowned Sindhi poet Motilal Jotwani pours out his anguish in his short-telling poem, The Invisible Difference.
Isn't there some difference between tolerance and acceptance, between action and reaction? Then why this cowardly but savage, misguided attempt to target a minority? Why the deliberate militant attempt to obstruct the pilgrimage to the sacred Amarnath cave, an abiding journey of faith? And why block the pathway to the bright blue skies, the invisible holy vision to the abode of Shiva? Have we now become so self-centered, or have we so blindfolded ourselves that we cannot even fathom the visible horizons in front?
But it seems all hope is still not lost. Kashmiri poet Naseem Shafai feels that even though a return to the pristine is difficult, yet it is not impossible. In a recent poem, A Fork in the Road, while reliving her memories when the distance between the communities was non-existent and all rituals and festivities were celebrated with the same fervor. And she finds in these unforgotten memories a beacon light, a return to the old culture of coexistence that thrived in the Valley of the Gods for centuries.
Not impossible, but difficult it is. Through the long hours of a moonlit night, for loving hearts to walk along the banks of the Dal, a flight of white pigeons glimpsed at first light and follow their course across the blue skies. Impossible? Not really, but difficult it is. In the deepest winter, hugging a kangri for warmth, and see the falling snowflakes through half-closed eyes, or watch a flight of crows with unchecked glee alight on the chinars on a summer eve. Impossible? Not really, but difficult it is. Or soundlessly, on some village path, a half-bitten pear dropped by a crow, or the sight of a pippin tree reddened with fruit setting off a child's huge tantrum. Impossible? Not really, but difficult it is. Hot rice dyed in a cloth and tea in samovar, carried along to the almond orchards, or in Ramadan, little girls in the yard bringing it alive with the pace of their dance. Impossible? Not really, but difficult it is. The eyes, too, will grow dim in the fog. The voices that called were lost long ago. Yet there in the shadows lurks a fork in the road, from where someone, perhaps, beckons to us. Impossible? Not really, but difficult it is.